Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name AZIZI bin AZMAN JAILANI. Okay, first of all, I want to introduce of CRT. CRT is a cathode ray tube is a specialized vacuum tube in which images are produced when an electron beam strikes a phosphorescent surface. Most desktop computer displays make use of CRT. The CRT in a computer displays is similar to the picture tube in a television receiver. Next, a cathode ray tube consists of several basic components as illustrated below. The electron gun generates a narrow beam of electrons. The anode accelerates the electrons. Deflecting coils produce an extremely low frequency electromagnetic field that allow of constant adjustment of the direction of the electron beam. Moreover, there are two sets of deflecting coils, first horizontal and second vertical. In the illustration, only one set of coil is shown for simplicity. The intensity of the beam can be varied. The electron beam produces a tiny, bright visible spot when it strikes the phosphor-coated screen. Last, CRT also produces an image on the screen. Complex signals are applied to the deflecting coil and also to the apparatus that control the intensity of the electron. This is a picture of the CRT. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you. I will pass to next topic, my friend.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is AHMAD HAKIM OMAR. Okay, for my part is operation module. A CRT module monitor contains millions of tiny reds, green and blue phosphor dot that glow when struck by an electron beam that travel across the screen to create a visible image. In a CRT monitor tube, the cathode is a heated filament. The heated filament in a vacuum crate inside a glass tube. The electrons are negative and the screen gives a positive charge, so the screen will glow. Okay, thank you. That's for me.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is HAKIM and I'm going to explain about operation module, how it works. Cathode rays are emitted by an electron gun accelerated by a high positive voltage near the face of the tube, forced into a narrow stream by a focusing system directed toward a point on the screen by the magnetic field generated by the deflection coil. Hit onto the phosphor-coated screen. Phosphor emits visible light whose intensity depends on the number of electrons striking on the screen. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay. There are two principal kinds of CRT shown utilized in physics illustration. That means short random scan displays are utilized principally to draw arrangement of line fragments. The controller of the CRT keeps up a showcase list that comprises of a succession of line portion determined by the endpoint in screen facilitators, while presently changes the voltage applied to the flat and vertical redirection plates. The electron shaft follow out each line section. Because of the effortlessness of this procedure, the electron shaft can follow out a huge up to 100k. Number of line fragment at up to 60 times each second. By constant redrawing the line fragment, the draw line portion seems noticeable to the watcher. Well, non-computer games, for example Asteroids, utilize regular output show. Building workstation additionally utilize arbitrary sweep presentation to show 2D outlines. Thank you.
Okay, after that I will explain the type of CRT. The second sort of CRT show got well known in the late 70s and mid 80s. The raster scan display. Raster scan shows speak to the screen as an intelligent assortment of squares known as pixels. Ordinarily, pixels relate to number arranged in the screen facility framework. The standard raster check show may utilize a 1024 by 1024 framework of pixels. The CRT keeps up a 2D cluster of forces related with these pixels. The exhibit is the casing support. To draw a genuine picture, the electron beam of the CRT centers around every pixel for a period proportionate to the substance of that pixel and turns in the edge support. On high contrast shows, this section is either 0, dark or 1, white. On a dark scale show, this passage is regularly an 8-piece number that relates differs from dark to white. Okay, thank you.
Representing a shading a straight blend of red, green and blue is known as the RGB shading model. This model isn't the main conceivable shading model. For instance, most specialists done paint utilizing mixes of just red, green and blue paint. Later in the course, we will talk about other conceivable shading model. In any case, most shading CRTs utilize the RGB model in their equipment. Ordinarily, bits are designated for every pixel. Bits for red force, bits for green power, and bits for blue force.
Okay guys, today I would like to talk about advantage of CRT. Okay, the first advantage is resolution and aspect ratio, which means they operate at any resolution, geometry and aspect ratio without the need of rescaling the image. Okay, the second advantage is highest resolution, which means CRT runs at the highest pixel resolution generally available. Okay, the third of advantage is black level and contrast, which means CRT produce a very dark black and the highest contrast level normally available is suitable for use even in dimly or dark environment. Okay, the fourth advantage is motion artifact. Okay, which means CRT has fast response time and no motion artifact, best for rapidly moving or changing image. Okay, and the finally advantage of a CRT is cost, which means CRT are less expensive than comparable display using the other display technology. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Next is CRT disadvantages. Number 1 is sharpness. The CRT Gaussian beam profile produce image with softer edge that are not as sharp as an LCD at its native resolution. Imperfect focus and color registration also reduce sharpness, generally sharper than LCDs at other than native resolutions. Number 2 is interference. All color CRTs produce annoying moist patterns. Many monitors include noise reduction, which normally doesn't eliminate the noise interference pattern entirely. Number 3 is geometric distortion. Subject to geometric distortion and screen resolution problem, also affected by magnetic field from other equipment, including other CRTs. Number 4, brightness. Relatively bright, but not as bright as LCD. Not suitable for very brightly lit environment. Number 5, screen shape. Some CRT have a rounded, spherical, or cylindrical shaped screen. Newer CRT are flat. Number 6, emission. CRT give off electric, magnetic, and electromagnetic field. There is considerable controversy as to whether any of these pose a health hazard. Number 7, physical. They are large, heavy, and bulky. They consume a lot of electricity and produce a lot of heat. Thank you.
Discussion for CRT display. The best discussion for this CRT display is the first developed display for television, oscilloscope, monitor, PC, LED centering. CRT display design complex LED component used is control grid, heater, deflecting coil, cathode, focusing coil, and deflecting coils. It changes electron beam into a display that we can see through the screen, either in black and white or colorful. The entire front area of the tube is scanned respectively and systematically in a fixed pattern called a raster. In color device, an image is produced by controlling the intensity each of 3 electron beams, one for each. Additive primary color is red, green, and blue. It then remodern CRT monitors and television. The beam are bent by magnetic deflection. A varying magnetic field generated by coils and driven by electronic circuit around the neck of the tube. Although electrostatic deflection is commonly used in oscilloscope, a type of electronic test instrument. This CRT display use more cost than the modern dimension, meaning that this CRT display no longer use this D. We study all the components in the CRT display and were made by what material. Thank you.
CRT, that is a cathode ray tube, can be useful for displaying image with high pixel per unit area and correct color balance. LCDs, as currently the most common flat screen technology, have generally inferior color rendition despite having greater overall brightness due to the fluorescent light commonly used as backlight. CRTs are popular in the printing and broadcasting industries, as well as in the professional video, photography, and graphic field due to the greater color fidelity, contrast, and better viewing from off-axis. CRTs also still find adherence in video gaming because of their high resolution per initial cost, fast response time, and multiple native resolution. So that's all from me for the conclusion for the CRT's display. Thank you.